Hi guys, welcome to my channel, and this is going to be my first video of all. Okay, so for this video series, I'm going to introduce several historical topics, debates, basically surrounding the long 18th century, especially in Asia region, and something relevant with the First World War. Also, occasionally, I will also bring in some interesting topic discussions about literature in a comparative sense, specifically focusing on English literature and Russian literature. Okay, so just in case, I want to make it super clear. So if you are a person who is very into humanities, very into moral and controversial debates about certain historical topics, very into new historical trends as well as historiographies, this will be your channel. However, if you do not really prefer to listen to some strong opinions about the past, about some human subjects or discussions, you might not want to stay in this channel. This is totally depending on you. I mean, there's always no right or wrong answer about certain opinions. And myself also is not on the so-called right side. I'm just trying to share some of my own opinions, and that's all. Okay, so today for my first video, I'm going to talk about a very hot topic, which is the concept of honor. Actually, yesterday when I was reading the article written by David Stevenson, a very prominent historian, I got thousands of thoughts flowed in my mind. But I do think it's always the best to provide a maybe simple outline for everything I'm going to talk about. So basically the structure will be like this. First, I'm going to talk about some new definition or redefine of the concept of honor. Second, I'm going to talk about the concept of honor in the war, or more specifically, First World War concept. And in the end, I will try to think about what is the honor concept of the present days. Also, what can we learn from the accumulation or changes of the concept of honor? Okay, so first question first, what is honor? I believe the concept of honor might be very different from individual to individual, even in the past time, in 90s. But there are general trends that honor is often relevant with prestige, glories, as well as victory. I mean, this is kind of the question of common sense. You will tend to believe that a person who is winning a medal, winning a competition, or earn the best proportion in certain area or profession is going to be the person with honor, for nowadays at least. So if we put that in a very simple way, what are something relevant with honor is going to be victory, competition, being offensive, and being active. You control everything in your hands. You have the right to whether initiate a certain action or not. You hold the power that is be able to decide the whole situation. That is a kind of prestige, but also often linked with the concept of honor. Well then, why this concept matters in our historical learning? It is because this concept of honor is often linked with wartime mentality. What I mean by wartime mentality is not only the psychology of soldiers who go into the war, but also the general public behind the war, the person who held the power to make the crucial decisions, and also historians after the war who conduct the so-called official materials or further studies about the war. Okay, so you said now I know that honor is highly relevant with the personal fulfillment with a lot of different groups in the wartime era, but how that relevant with the study and understanding of war, and how that can be the crucial application for nowadays? The thing is, the concept of honor is helping us to understand why a lot of countries, even the countries who decided to remain neutral at the beginning, eventually went to the war. Okay, so taking the First World War as an example, let's starting from the offensive side. And actually the key orientation is here. The key reorientation brought us not directly to the Germany, not highlighting the thesis that like Germany and Russia were actually the two great powers who were pulling the strings behind Austria-Hungary and Serbia. We are saying the active agency for those countries who actually involved in the conflict at the first time to be influenced or initiated the war by the concept of honor. So, Austrian-Hungary, what's special about that and how that links to the concept of honor? Well, it's not being described as the segment of Europe as Ottoman Empire, but declining GDP and strong tie with German Empire in terms of trading, as well as the collapsing reputation internationally about the public image, is all highlighting that the whole situation for it is not well enough to be a strong empire. So going to the war with Germany altogether is kind of tied up with the realistic relationship between Germany and Austria-Hungary. That is certainly correct. But if we are taking the concept of honor here, you will find another different angle. When we're tracing back to the official documents or the living records about interviews, speeches from the time before the First World War began in the area of Austria-Hungary, we will find out that the comments from outside world often using some feminine descriptions to describe Austria-Hungary being the one that is constantly not having the active agency. You know that the old story of masculine language system is that whenever you feel one is being the weak position, you often applies feminine descriptions for that phase. And from the perspective of cultural honor and society honor or the national honor, it will make sense that why Austria-Hungary or the average people of Austria-Hungary would be able to fully mobilized and as a strong army to directly participated into the war and the battlefield. Of course, we got other trigger events, we got toys and twins in the world, but the cultural honor is a key that can mobilize everyone to make their action or contributions for the national image. I mean, the realistic bound economic values as well as the protection values should be something that only can be seen or well considered by the leadership layer or the higher institution of the Austrian-Hungary government. However, the reason for people to also be able to accept the war is coming can be explained by the concept of honor. Social psychologists who proposed the idea of social identity theory actually can well be linked here. It basically says that when you are having a sort of bond, making that a group of people have the sense that they are being the in-group, then it is possible for them to have a very strong collective efforts to first of all being fully unified with the in-group members, and second of all have the strong decision or the willingness to against the outside. If we are applying the concept of honor here, we will find out that first of all, the war is better for the cooperation with Germany and have strong national elements, as well as maintaining the empire, also the national images. So the four things combines together, forming a double layer of the concerning for both the government and the public together under the concept or the explanation of the honor theory. People were highly motivated by the national conflict, the national image, and the national sentiment, and naturally form the strong in-group even with different ethnicity and different spoken languages. At that time, the government will be able to utilize the effect that was brought by the honor culture to mobilize the people. So, earn the actual benefits to still cooperate with Germany and also have a better national unification at the same time to against the further enemies in the future. A similar logic can be applied to Britain as well. Once at the height in Europe, with the strongest navy, highly industrialized bases, and a quite good living standard, maintain the status quo is the kind of key for Britain, both the government and the people. So, in terms of national honor, we will find out that maintain the empire is no longer only accepted by the British government with realistic concern, but by the people who want to maintain the well-established, the Great Britain image, the whole culture of being the strongest sea explorer and also the industrial conqueror of the world. Again, it's no longer only concerning with the problem of government, not only concerning with the problem of soldiers, but every living citizens in the country. So that is a quite effective tool, isn't it? But being cautious when the concept of honor or the honor theory comes to the development of historiography. I mean, the most famous Fisher theory or the Fisher thesis basically put the most blame or the war guilt into the side of Germany. Well, the one key reason or the basic assumption that Fisher was trying to make is based on the understanding of application for the concept of war honor. Those are coming from both from the document or archive side and from the interpretation side. For archive, due to the fact that Fisher was heavily relying, due to some critics said, on the official documents, actually the range of exploration in terms of explaining this complex problem, World War I, is kind of hard to get in sense, really. And on the interpretation side, there's always the old stereotype that German culture is kind of militaristic, kind of greatly brought up or being influenced by the military tradition of the past. So the nation itself, as Fisher kind of brought up, have the natural army or the military elements, so naturally being aggressive and offensive. But clearly, this is not the complete picture, and it's not very worthy, at least not very beneficial in application to blame all the guilt of the war into German side, because that's simply not the whole perspective. So while we are able to using the honor thesis as one tool to explain everything happened in the World War I, maybe we have also be very careful about application, especially for historians in the later ages when they are developing more cultural, more interdisciplinary thesis. Honor theory or cultural honor can be a key reference, but never the only reference or the focus for explaining the whole picture. Lastly, as some of the historians, especially after revisionists, suggesting about the First World War, especially about the public sentiment. Actually, in the summer of 1914, a lot of people were unaware of the war is actually coming. They had the illusion that they were living in the age of golden peace. So, whether people were completely motivated by the war culture or the honor culture is also doubtful, or I should say, depending on the region, depending on how war goes, and depending on the time flow. So, this is going to be today's discussion about honor. Remember, if you like this video or like to see more discussions about some historical themes, topics, thesis, or theory, just try to give a hit to the video and subscribe my channel. Me and the little shark will always be here, share some refreshing news about historical insights to everyone here, and see you next time.